Hello guys, in this video I'll show you a very fun, simple way to turn 2D textures into 3D models. But real quick guys, if you're looking for what I consider to be the best 3D modeling tutorial on the internet, I recommend checking out my Udemy course. It's got tutorials on Blender, 3ds Max, CAD programs such as Plasticity and Moai 3D, and a lot of ZBrush as well. So if you want to master a variety of programs to really bring your skills up to the next level and master 3ds Max, Blender, ZBrush, and Plasticity, be sure to check out that course. Link is in the description. Let's continue. All right, so I'll show you a more basic example of this bread, and then maybe we'll do 2 more examples that may be a little bit more complex. All right, so I just got this basic plane, go in here, create a plane, make sure it's got the same length and the width dimensions, and there we go. And now go ahead and apply the poly. I'm going to press 1 to go into vertex level, and we're just going to go ahead and use cut. I've got that set to Alt-C, and I'm going to go ahead here and just cut around here. Now, I guess I can show you 2 different methods, right? One that's a little bit more accurate or a little bit more clean, while another one requires a little bit of cleanup, but still very fast. So what you can do, for example, is just cut very carefully. And as you cut here, make sure you can have the same number of cuts on each side here. This is kind of an example of symmetrical design here. All right, I'll just go ahead and delete everything else here. All right, I can just maybe remove that. All right, now I'm going to cut. I'm going to press S for snaps, right click here, make sure you got vertex snap on. I'm going to go ahead and go from left to right or left to right. Left to right or right to left. And I'm going to go ahead and kind of make sure we have some clean topology going on here. We'll go like that as well. We're going to triangle here, that's fine. All right, we're going to go ahead and use, I've got Alt-S set to Swift Loop, insert some loops through here. Next, I'll go into Freeform, and I'd like to use something called Shift. And what that allows you to do is quickly just kind of move things around. Let's use new edit poly modifier. So if you zoom out, it'll move the whole thing. If you zoom in, you can kind of micro move things. So it's essentially kind of a faster way without having to just kind of select this and then move it and then select vertices. You can just go ahead and use Shift for that. You can use that to maybe add some distortions, variety here to the shape. All right, and there you go, guys. That is the clean method right there. But we're not done yet because it's still a 2D shape. So we're going to go ahead here. We're going to Effect Pivot Only and then center to Object. All right. We're going to go ahead and apply Shell. That's going to give us that 3D effect. We're going to go ahead and use Increase Outer Mount. Now we're going to scroll down here. And I think by default it's set to just copy. So all the texture that's kind of here on the sides, it's essentially just going to kind of, stretch that out towards infinity. But if you want things to look a little bit better without having to do any kind of more complex unwrapping and texture work, you simply go here and you can switch this to none, or switch it to that. Or a good one is to use interpolate and then simply play around with these settings here. Now, in this example, sometimes you have a greater offset here, but it doesn't really work. So what you want to do is maybe start with 0.01 and then kind of 0.005, 0.0035. And what that kind of does is it's not quite as bad as just copy. It's not fully stretched. It will kind of interpolate a little bit here. So with this result, guys, with this method, it doesn't give you like the most high quality results. Obviously, if you're going for like extreme realism, you would use a different method. You would have, maybe go into ZBrush, then kind of have some complex brush work here and complex texture work. This video is showing you guys a very kind of quick and dirty method for, some quick props, or if you're not concerned about realism and you just want like some stylized textures. And here actually, I've got some more stylized textures here. So if you're going for that popular look of having like a hand-drawn effect, this method is very good for that. If you just want some quick kind of background prop without having to do a bunch of work, this method is good for that. All right, so that's the shell. But one of the downsides that you won't quite get the best result on the side here, but still, you will get something that could work for certain situations. All right, we're going to go ahead and smooth that out, but it's way too smooth here. So we're going to go ahead and insert 2 loops here. So I'll select an edge, ring, connect, 2, and then increase the pinch value until you get the appropriate sharpness of your bread. And one thing that could look good, guys, is have a little bit of an inward bend. So I'll go ahead and create one segment. I'll apply push modifier and I'll push inwards just a bit, or outwards if you want like some sort of a outwards result like so. Right, that could look good. Or you can have it pushed a little bit inwards. And that creates just a nice little bit of extra, detail right there. And there we go, guys. There is our piece of bread. All right. Now for a more complex result, let's coat the cheese. And I will show you how to be a little bit more messy here with the cheese. All right, so we're going to go ahead and cut. But this time we're not going to really care about making it good topology. We're just going to go ahead and cut it to get the shape here. All right, so we got that. And I'm going to go ahead and just select this and delete that. All right, so here's what you do, guys. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and undo. Before I delete it, I'm going to go ahead and apply a UVW map, just planar on top. All right, I'm going to go ahead and now I'll delete that. And so now I'm going to go ahead and apply retopology modifier, and 5,000 is way too high. Let's try maybe 255. Let's compute. Sometimes I can turn off pre-processed mesh so you get a better result. All right, looks like it's not quite working here. Let's try it again. All right, there we go. Now the problem is that when you retopologize, you can mess up the texture. But what UVW map will do is reproject that texture right back on here, guys. All right, so the retopology gives us good topology, and then UVW map, and of course we got the same shell modifier. We're going to go ahead and decrease the outer amount. And so once again, we can use Shift to maybe fix some things up here. If you want more of a little hole here, a little bit more of a 3D effect, you can go ahead and kind of move this down. All right. All right. We can just move this down a little bit here. All right, guys. And then you can go ahead and smooth that out. And we've got a nice little piece of cheese here. I'll go ahead and center the pivot. All right. And so I can now press, for example, Shift A to put that right there. Move it up. Scale it. Actually, one thing I should have done. Hold on. Let me undo that. I need to go ahead and create some holes here. So we'll say these are dents, so we'll say these are actual holes here. All right, let's go ahead and remake that real quick. All right, UW map, shell, the poly. We'll go ahead and redo that. Actually, On top of topology, guys, we'll go ahead and select all the faces, and we will do a little bit of an inset right here. All right, EVW map, shell, and then turbo smooth, guys. As you can see, we get a nice little result here. And once again, on top of shell, we can move this down a little bit here to get more of a dent. If you want a little bit more of a 3D effect right here. All right. And so we put that on top of our bread. And, you know, to make it look a little bit more messy, a little bit more, you know, give a little bit more life, we'll have it kind of hang over the edge, and we'll go ahead and use shift to kind of make it, you know, drip down a little bit. And so, guys, just little things like that give your scenes more life. And just using shift real quick is a good way to get a little bit of a variation here, a little bit of damage, a little bit of distortion. You can go a long way, and you can also just kind of move it from the top. And you can do the same for the bread as well, guys. And that is how you can turn a 2D texture into a 3D model. But one more example, guys. Let me just move that out here and go ahead and delete all that. Let's do something a little bit more round. Let's do, for example, this carrot. We're going to cut. And delete. And we're going to go ahead and cut across. We're going to get that clean topology. Insert 2 loops. And so, guys, in order to give this that nice effect, we're going to go ahead and shell. Let me see if I can't change the offset values here. All right, we're going to go ahead and turbo smooth. But in order to make it look better, we're going to select these vertices. We're going to go ahead and scale them. As you can see, guys, that just gives us more of this kind of result here. And it just makes it look more two-dimensional. And there you go, guys. So that is another example right there. So, guys, hope you can use this technique to quickly take some 2D textures and give them a nice 3D result. Thank you for watching, and take care.